Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to another Expanse review and reaction. So today I'm going to be watching, reviewing, and reacting to Season 2, Episode 10 of The Expanse. So you'll probably hear right away that my voice is not great. As some of you know, my father came to visit over the weekend, and it was nice. We tried to film a couple Game of Thrones reactions because I'm starting to get him into the show, and eventually that's gonna be a reaction series that's on here very soon. That's my plan. But then we also did a bunch of other things, and we went out and we got food, and I guess somewhere in these various adventures I came down with another respiratory infection. I guess I don't know about you guys, but for me it's been a really bad winter for it. I feel like I keep getting sick over and over again, and one of the things is that I actually have I have asthma, so whenever I get these respiratory infections, it kind of is a pain and knocks me out quite a bit. So I do apologize. Obviously my throat is really scratchy, my breathing's not great, and so that probably means that I won't be talking as much as normal, including at the end of this episode, but I'll try to make up for it with more discussion at the beginning of the next video. You guys know if I ever have to cut something short, that's what I try to do, so I'll try to keep with that, but I do apologize for that, and for the scratchy voice. So before I get started with this episode, just a quick thank you to everybody who's come out to support me on Patreon. And as you guys may have seen, episodes 8 and 9 are now available on YouTube. The dispute is still ongoing. Okay, the Lasso group is still claiming videos, but they aren't blocking them. So I'm in the midst of dispute with it, but they're at least present. So yay so far, and we'll hope that nothing else gets blocked in the future. Alright, so going into this episode, we had a lot of setup last time around. So we have Hardin and the crew are now on Ganymede. They're about to go searching for Prax's daughter, if she's still there, as well as the doctor, who apparently has something to do with Protogen. And then also on Earth, Bobby went and testified in front of Avasarala's committee at this kind of peace hearing, and it seems that the Martian delegation successfully has been able to put some sort of peace process in place, but Bobby, of course, had to lie, and at the last kind of second, Avasarala was able to push her to say more of what she actually saw. So now Avasarala is aware that not the whole truth is being told, and we know her, she's not going to just let that go. And we also know that Bobby wasn't happy with being forced to lie in a way that kind of threw Travis, one of her crew, under the bus. So I think we're kind of going to see what happens there now. If Avasarala is going to keep pushing Bobby, you know, what's Bobby going to do? What's the implication going to be? So I'm very curious to see what happens in both of these storylines, since they've pretty much set us up, I think, to get going hard for the rest of the season. We've just got a few episodes left, so. Alright guys, well, like I said, I'm not going to talk too much, so let's just jump right into the episode. Season 2, Episode 10, here we go.
Back suit. Please. The MMC trains their people to believe they're invincible when that failure is an unacceptable option. Well, Sergeant Draper failed. And then she snapped because she couldn't deal with it.
So you think she's lying?
I think she's crazy.
Still, I wouldn't mind getting her in a room alone. She seemed perfectly sane to me. And after Eris, my definition of crazy has contracted significantly.
Well, she has zero
Yeah,
credibility.
you'd
There's
think
no
that
point talking to
everyone
her.
would have
Point
that
is,
opinion.
something was bothering her and she was ordered to suppress it. Mars is using peace as a distraction.
Peace as a distraction. God, I wish I could disagree with you right now.
Our apologies if we kept you waiting.
Not at all.
How is Sergeant Draper?
You really fucked up in there, Gunny.
I know. But I know I saw something.
Oh, yes. A man standing on the surface of Ganymede without a vac suit. You absolutely sure about that?
So you think I'm crazy?
I think we asked too much of you too soon. Bobby, truth and fact are not the same thing. Now, I know this may be too much for you to grab a hold of right now. But you believe what you saw is true because you need it to be true. To explain how your team was killed.
I mean, he's right.
So what happens
that
now?
truth and fact aren't always the same thing. But in this case, they are.
And then what?
Then we do what's best for you and for the Corps.
The armor if it were otherwise. What about biologicals?
Well, we did find traces of various plant material, but again, that's consistent with the account.
He's looking this
she
up
was
by
found in the
himself.
wreckage of the egg
I'm
dome.
not talking about soybeans. I mean exotic biologicals. Anything that shouldn't be on Ganymede.
Sir, I'm not sure what you're getting at.
See, like I was saying with
I
that
don't
other,
want pretty thorough.
where he was
I want you to go over every
looking
goddamn
legitimately
molecule on that armor and tell me if there's
concerned.
anything you've missed. Do you understand
when
me?
you heard her say
Yes,
that.
sir. Right away, sir.
Mm.
Does what she's told to. What's wrong with you? Sit down.
I think she did see something on Ganymede. Something we're not supposed to know about.
And what's fueling these thoughts?
I believe that Ganymede was a test of a new weapon that Jung-Espinoza is developing for Mars. Based on technology he unleashed on
Oh
Eros.
shit!
You've been in contact
He's
with him?
coming clean?
No.
Is this really
I was
happening?
aware of his weapons research. Because I was working with him. You've known for a while.
Ever since you had Frank de Graaf killed.
I know it makes no difference, but I had no hand in that, Christian.
But you covered it up. You protected Jules.
You need to understand that this started out as a conversation about peace, about the discovery of this incredible proto-molecule on Phoebe. This was a way to guarantee the safety of the Earth.
At a terrible price.
You're the one who taught me that Earth must come first.
And Eris, 100,000 souls. Did I teach you that?
If I had known what was going to happen on Eros, I would have stopped the project and Jung-Espinoza along with it, and you know that!
Eris nearly destroyed this planet. You will have to answer for your part in that.
I know. And I will. But what we need to do right now is keep the system from burning down. This is everything that I know about the
Wow.
molecule project.
He's doing the right thing. Wow.
If Ganymede really was a test,
He really was shook by that.
it's just the beginning.
I mean, finally, though, he's finally doing this when everything was happening on Eros, you know? I kept saying, you know more than you're saying, you should just tell everyone, it'll help. I guess he got concerned enough about what almost happened to Earth, and then to hear this finally pushed him to do the right thing. I mean, I'm glad. That's good. I mean, I guess it shows that he's not as conscienceless as Jung-Espinoza seems to be. Not completely conscienceless. Can't believe she's doing this.
A lot of work for other people. You got chicken? That's what I like. Gonna take a lot.
You guarantee results?
No.
That doesn't give us much faith in your work.
Then leave.
You seem to be doing quite well for yourself. I mean, you got enough here to feed half the station.
Put that back.
This guy just wants to find his little girl. She's sick. She could die if he doesn't find her.
This business.
We got rations, protein bars, ammunition. We're happy to barter.
What I want is chicken. No chicken? Back of the line.
No! Stop! You can't fight Maggie! You bash his head in! What's wrong with you?
I mean, that guy deserved it. That guy fucking deserved it. Did you? Wait a second.
Are you gonna help us?
Holden's letting him do this.
I find little girl.
Holden was holding Naomi back.
Thank you.
Shit. Oh yeah, look at Naomi, look at him. Holden's changing a lot, guys. Not just that, oh, he almost killed Cortazar, but look at this. He's like just, I mean, I don't blame him necessarily with this, with Amos. I mean, that guy 100% deserves it, and they do need his help, but that wasn't very Holden-like.
You said you weren't a homicidal maniac.
I didn't kill him. Not yet. He's a bully. And where I come from, bullies take desperate young girls like your daughter and force them into prostitution. And when they finally get knocked up, they peddle them to Johns who get off on them. After they have the kid, they push them right back out on the streets even before they have a chance to heal. And those kids, they use them too. Some people deserve to be punished.
When I learned the clinic had been destroyed.
That's something a lot of people were hinting at about Amos's childhood.
I felt almost relieved. She was sick her whole life and I couldn't fix her. I'm better with plants. I couldn't help her the way a father's supposed to.
Are you asking me to tell you that's okay?
I know it's not.
Patience has that depth. Now, in an artificial ecosystem, when one thing goes wrong, there's only a certain amount of pathways that can compensate for it. Eventually, those pathways get overstressed and then they fail, which leaves fewer pathways. And then they'll get overstressed. Then they fail.
So it's not the thing that breaks you that you need to watch out for.
Exactly. And Ganymede is a simple, complex system. Because it's simple, it's prone to cascades. And because it's complex, you can't predict what's gonna break down next or how.
Yeah, but Ganymede is the most important food station out here. They're not gonna let it just collapse.
The station's dead already. They just don't know it yet.
It was real. Here. This is what attacked you and your team, isn't it?
Oh, shit.
A new type of weapon. It was being tested on Ganymede.
Tested?
By your own government.
Fuck you, man.
Sergeant, I wish to God it was my government. Then I would have some control over the situation.
Okay. Alright, so that was episode 10, and so one of the big takeaways, that was pretty big at the end there, big moment, as I was saying, is that it indeed is turning out to be the case that at least some people in the Martian government, not necessarily, you know, all of them, but maybe a similar situation to what it was with Earth, and the protomolecule in general, with Errinwright, some portion of them were aware of this thing's existence, were aware of what was going on with it, and they wanted her to lie to people on Earth, not necessarily just to prevent a war, but also to cover up the fact that they knew what this thing was and they were actively involved in it. So, great! And so, I guess, that's interesting because I suppose this means that Jules Pierre Mao was simultaneously working on one project with Errinwright and this shadow group inside Earth government, and one project with at least some part of the government on Mars, two different projects? Curious. Or was Cortazar, like, involved in all of it? Was it one big, and Dresden, was it one big one big kind of project, but they were like talking about it in different ways with different people, or were they thinking of trying to like pit them against one another once they actually had their weapon in place, or I don't know. Whatever it was, it's clear that Jules Pierre Mao doesn't have any sort of side other than his own interest and, I assume, making money and having power for himself. So, what a shock. He's a horrible, horrible human being. So, I mean, that's interesting. And they showed a little, like, picture of it at the end there. And that looked freaky as hell. Like, we saw its head, its face when it was looming over Bobby. But the whole body, it looked, like, long and gangly. And so, yeah, are Holden and them gonna run into that thing on Ganymede as they go forward? I don't know. But, I mean, as I had said before, I'm not really gonna talk too much right now. My voice is not great. I'm not feeling super great breathing-wise. But besides that, I mean, this was a big episode for Bobby, and I felt like it was really interesting in terms of what it told us about life of more, like, common people on Earth. And the various, you know, things that people from Mars assume about Earthers, and vice versa, and kind of the experience that Bobby had going out there. So that's something that I'm definitely going to want to talk about some more, as well as, you know, everything that happened with Errinwright and his kind of crisis of conscience that hopefully, like, has finally happened, and coming to Avasarala and what the long-term implications of that are going to be. The big kind of moment with Holden seemingly being willing to let Amos nearly beat someone to death for their own purposes, which Naomi was pretty upset about, and Holden, I don't know, it just seems to be like a pattern of him with him as of late, that he is kind of going down a much darker path than usual, and I think that's pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how that develops going forward. And then, as I was talking a little bit about throughout the episode, there's the dynamic between Amos and Prax. I'd like to, like, dig into that a little bit more. And even, you know, and I also just want to say that I was very interested in Prax this episode in general. Everything he was saying, that concept of the cascade was just very, very cool, very well done and interesting, and I'm wondering if that's gonna just come back as sort of like a theme for other things, not just Ganymede Station. But alright, so those are the things, and before the next episode I'll try to talk about some of them at least a little bit more in depth. I know I talked about them throughout the episode and I mentioned them here, but I know I usually talk longer than this, so I'll get into them a bit more next time too. So, alright guys, well, I'm just gonna wrap it up there then, and I'll say, one, I apologize again for the scratchy voice and chest, but hopefully it wasn't too much of an impediment. I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really good. I'm curious to see where we're going next. So, thank you so much for joining me once again, and hopefully I will see you next time.